When I visit a city, we're going to see the weird stuff. Today I'm in Philadelphia. Let me show you what I wanted to see in the 2 hours I have to spare. First stop is Bartram's Garden, the oldest surviving botanic garden in North America. This is Franklinia, named after Ben Franklin. It no longer exists in the wild, and every Franklinia that exists elsewhere was propagated from the Franklinia here. This is the oldest surviving ginkgo tree in North America. It used to be more widespread millions of years ago. Ginkgo trees are already known as a very hardy species, but even more so after 1945, when 6 of them survived between 1 and 2 kilometers from the hypocenter of the atomic explosion in Hiroshima, and so seedlings of these trees are now gifted around the world to gardens as symbols of life and resilience. Side quest, they invented Mother's Day here, but Philadelphia City Hall, it is the largest and tallest freestanding habitable masonry structure, largest municipal building in the United States. This statue of William Penn up here, 500 feet up, largest statue of a person on top of a building. Without this historic marker, this wouldn't be happening, because right there is where the oldest surviving photograph in the United States was taken, although the buildings that it was photographing are now demolished. This building behind me is the Bellevue, which is a mixed-use hotel development currently managed by Hyatt. But back in 1976, it was known as the Bellevue Stratford and was an independent hotel. At that time, it was hosting an American Legion conference, and that was coinciding with the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. After this conference, a bunch of people started feeling sick. We're talking about around 200 people. And then people started dying, and 29 people ended up dying. What happened is that the AC system of this hotel was not receiving proper maintenance, and so a bacteria, which would become known as Legionella, was living in the AC system and was spread throughout the hotel. The condition that's caused by this bacteria would become known as Legionnaire's disease because of the American Legion Conference. Bellevue Stratford, having its reputation tarnished, never recovered and ended up selling the hotel. This incident also caused a lot of regulation related to the upkeep of air conditioning and ventilation system. So back in 2015, Pope Francis was coming to Philadelphia, and so City Center, the downtown area, was getting spruced up. For some reason, they decided to pull up the wooden roadbed of Camac Street, the only road left in Philadelphia made from wood. It was then paved over with asphalt and was only replaced with wood again this past year. It cost like $1 million to put the wood back. Behind me is the Thaddeus Kosciuszko National Memorial, which is the smallest unit of the national park system anywhere in the United States. Who was Thaddeus Kosciuszko? Besides being the victim of widespread mispronunciation and having a bunch of things named after him, he was an activist, a military engineer, and a war hero for the United States during the Revolutionary War, and a symbol of patriotism for Polish people as he fought in the United States and in Poland. This is where he resided for a portion of his life, and so it has been preserved as a historic landmark. One notable and unfortunate thing about Thaddeus Kosciuszko is that he had quite a bit of money to his name at his death, but he had multiple wills. One of his wills was in the United States, and that particular one said that his money should go towards the education of free Black people in the United States, although that will was not the one that was executed. Behind me is the Wanamaker building, which takes up an entire city block. It's one of the biggest buildings in Philadelphia. It was home to one of the first department stores in the United States. The department store that was here was the first to have electric lighting, the first to have a telephone, and the first to use pneumatic tubes to move things throughout the building. Wanamaker's was sold and closed and sold and sold and sold down the line, and most recently in 2006, the building was occupied by Macy's, which left last year, and now the building is unoccupied and undergoing renovation. But just for the holiday season, the interior is opened up because inside the Wanamaker building is the Wanamaker pipe organ, which is the largest fully functioning pipe organ in the world with 20,750 pipes. It's incredible. It's not the largest pipe organ that was ever built, but we'll talk about that very extensively in another video. Now we're at Logan Circle because at the middle is a gigantic fountain that is actually a memorial to this guy, Wilson Swan, who was obsessed with fountains. Like, I respect how much he was obsessed with fountains. He was the head of the Philadelphia Fountain Society, which built like almost 100 public water fountains for a couple different reasons. Number one, drinking water quality was very poor at the time, and they were trying to prevent typhoid by making clean water accessible. They were also trying to prevent people from drinking in excess and committing crimes, because it was thought that that was due to people not having access to clean drinking water. And they were also trying to provide water for working animals, because horses would just not have water and just die in the street. He ended up dying. Money to fund these fountains started drying up, but when his wife died, she left the foundation $20,000 just to build a memorial fountain And so they did. I'm running out of time, but I'm at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, one of the largest art museums in the entire country. Yeah, there's a Rocky statue, I don't care. What I care about is the amazing foresight that went into the planning and construction of this building, because the planners were like, we have to make sure that there's enough funding available to actually finish construction, and we don't want funding to be pulled in the middle of construction and leave it unfinished. So what they did is they had the wings of the building constructed first, because they knew that it would be so ugly if it was just the wings and not the central building that no one would ever want to pull funding, and that's exactly what happened. They got all the funding they needed and they were able to keep it because no one wanted to see a museum with no centerpiece. I'm at my last stop, which is a library. It is the Philadelphia Free Library, and I'm in their rare books department because they just have The Raven. They have Charles Dickens' pet raven, Grip, which was alive for about a year before she drank a bunch of lead paint and died. But she was a household menace and kind of became a fascination of Dickens, and he ended up writing the story Barnaby Rudge, featured a talking raven, and it's widely agreed among literary experts that Edgar Allan Poe read this story and was inspired by this story to later write the poem The Raven. Also, this department just has like a bunch of really cool, rare books. Anyways, go birds.